let's talk about Black historic women. All right. Black historic women. Welcome, this is Black History Month. And we're going to talk about Ida B. Wells, Mary McLeod Bethune, Mary Ann Carey, Betsy Coleman, Ellen Craft, Mary Mahoney, Mary Terrell, Sojourner Truth, Harriet Ross Tubman, Madam C.J. Walker, Magdalena Walker, and Phyllis Wheatley. So I'm trying to get those in. Welcome. Thank you for joining. Thank you, everyone. Let's get started. Now, we know women in general, as black women and black women in particular, have always been subjected to limits within our society. We already know that. Have always been subjected to limits within our society. We already know that. It was not so long ago that women did not have the right to vote. Turn this down a little bit. They held only minor jobs within the workplace. Yes, welcome. They held only minor jobs in the workplace. Okay? They could not speak out on important issues. Women looked upon as being inferior to men. Much had changed over the years, but women are still climbing the hill. We're still climbing the hill, guys. Women have had to fight for their rights to be treated equal as men. I think we just want our equal rights, right? I think that's what we really wanted. Yeah. Let me see here. Multi-gift 3. Hello. Welcome. I'm going to try to do some of that today. I got a lot of names to cover. So if I don't, guys, forgive me. Leave a comment. I got on a light shirt, so some of the names I can't see. So we're going to try this. Let's go for it. Let's do this. Okay. Women have struggled to seek a profession of their own choosing and to receive the same pay as men. We're still doing that. I got another article I posted some on my Facebook page. It did all 50 states of where black people live, all 50 states, how much lower in pay we are than Europeans. It's amazing. That's another topic, another day. But let's go here. Follow me on Facebook, follow me on YouTube. You'll get some of this stuff. Okay. The sex discrimination and injustice that black women have had to face have been even greater. We know this. During the time of slavery, the children of black women were often taken from them. Their husbands were often sold to their owners. The children of black women were often taken from them. Their husbands were often sold to their owners. And it was common for black women to be forced to work at hard labor at the side of black men. I know, saw it, girl, sexy, cool, welcome. Okay? Throughout the years, black women had to struggle to keep their families together. They have had to fight even harder for the rights of their husbands, children, and themselves. They're the glue. We're the glue. In spite of all this, black women have survived and they have been strong. Our grandmothers, our moms, come on guys, Big Mama, they're there, right? But the stories in this book that I'm doing today tell the struggles of black women. It also highlights 12 black women who have stood out in history So let's see what we can learn from them. Let's go here. Ida B. Wells Barnett, born in 1862, died in 1931. There was a time when a white mob could hang a black person. In 1862, died in 1931. There was a time when a white mob could hang a black person, and no one would be punished. Hey, laws did not protect the rights of black Americans. During this period, blacks were not considered equal to whites. Ida B. Wells spent her life fighting these wrongs. They fought, man. Ida was born in Holly Springs, Mississippi. In 1862, her parents were slaves. By the time she was 14 years old, both her parents had died. They died of a disease called yellow fever. In those days, there was no cure for this deadly disease. Ida was the oldest child, so she had to take care of her brothers and her sisters. Life was very hard for Ida. Oh my God. But she went to school just the same. She attended Russ College in Mississippi. She also went to Fisk University in Tennessee. Later, she became a teacher in an all-black school in Memphis. While teaching, Ida began writing the anti-lynching articles. She also became a writer for the Free Speech newspaper. However, her articles were too critical. As a result, she was fired. Hey, guess what? From her teaching job. She then became an editor and part owner of the Free Speech. The paper sent her traveling throughout the South to report on lynchings. Many people were angered by the truth in her articles. Anytime I'm going on, y'all. I'm going on. However, Ida B. Wells was fearless. One of her trips, a train conductor asked her to get up from a seat. He told her that she must sit in the all-black section of the train. She refused to do so. Then several white men removed her from the train. She went to court about this and won the case. The judge told the men to pay her $500. However, the men appealed to a higher court. This judge told the men that they did not have to pay the money, of course. This made Ida even more determined. She wrote about the poor way black people were treated. In 1892, a lynch mob killed a friend of Ida's and two other black businessmen. She became angry and reported on their lynching. She named the people who were involved. As a result, her life was placed in danger. Her newspaper office was destroyed, and she fled to New York. While in New York, Ida became a reporter for the New York Age newspaper. She then went to Europe and told about the many lynchings in the United States. She talked to thousands of people. In 1895, Ida wrote a report called A Red Record. This report detained the total number of blacks lynched in the United States. She asked President McKinley for his help. She wanted him to help stop the terrible attacks on black people. Also in 1895, Ida met and married Ferdinand Barnett. He was a lawyer and a newspaper owner in Chicago, Illinois. They later had 4 children. Together, they used their newspaper to fight the rights of blacks. Fight for the rights of blacks. Fight for the rights of blacks. Even though the Barnetts worked hard, nothing seemed to change. After learning of a lynching in a small town in Illinois, Ida B. Wells Barnett went to Springfield, the state capital. She demanded the firing of the sheriff who had allowed the lynching. She won her case. There was no more lynchings in the state of Illinois. Ida B. Wells Barnett became very famous. She co-founded the NAACP. She also was involved. W. Wells Barnett became very famous. She co-founded the NAACP. She also was involved with many women's organizations. She led the fight for women's voting rights while she marched with over 5,000 women to Washington, D.C. Wherever wrongs existed, she was there. Ida B. Wells Barnett was a tremendous black woman who received many honors. For one, a housing project in Chicago bears her name. She died in March 25th, 1931. She was a heroine to her people and a credit to the world. Her pen was her sword. Her pen was a sword. Her pen was a sword. I love it, I love it, I love it, I love it. Her pen was her sword. Oh my gosh, how much damage did she do with her pen? Yes, wait a minute, well, we gotta do our thing. We gotta do something here. Let me do something here. Yes, Ida B. Wells, we honor you. We honor you. Yes, 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 yes. My clapper is coming. My clapper is coming. What an amazing woman, Ida B. Wells. Guys, make sure you get her and put her into your history, into your library. Oh my goodness. Mary McLeod Bethune. Who does not know about Mary? Mary McLeod Bethune. Who does not know about Mary McLeod Bethune? What a woman, what a woman. I'm from Florida. I really love this woman. Okay. 1875 to 1955. Early in life, you have a choice in setting your own goals. Okay, we back. We lost connection for a minute. Early in life, you have a choice for setting your own goals. You may want to be a lawyer, a nurse, a doctor, a business person, or a reporter. Mary McLeod Bethune chose to obtain her education and teach others. She later would become a friend and advisor to many presidents. Mary was born in Maysville, South Carolina. In 1875, her parents were former slaves. There were 17 children in her family, 17. Slavery had ended when Mary was born. Still, she was able to see that blacks were not free. As a little girl, Mary had always wanted to learn. However, there was no schools in Maysville that black children could go to. She was 11 years old. Oh my goodness, 11 years old when a school opened near Maysville. It was 5 miles away. Mary walked to and from school every day, 5 miles away. 5 miles away. I want to make sure you understand that. When she graduated, Mary was the only black child given a college scholarship. In 1893, she graduated from the Scotia Seminary in North Carolina. Mary longed to become a missionary worker in Africa. She decided to study in Chicago. She attended the Moody Bible Institute and graduated in 1895. Mary was then ready to be a missionary. She thought, okay? She applied to the missionary board in New York. However, they said that she was too young. Mary was very disappointed. Mary began to teach school. She taught in Georgia, then in South Carolina. Soon after, she married Albertus Bethune, also a teacher. They had one son, Albert. Yes, had a brother named Albert. The family then moved to Florida, and she taught there for 4 years. In 1904, I was taught this a long time ago. I love this part. In 1904, guys, with just $1.50. Oh my God, is anybody in here? Maggie, I see Maggie, and I see, okay, Soulful and Encouraged, welcome, good to see you. Girl, Sexy, Cool, yes. Multi-gift, thank you. All you guys, thank you. Somebody, can you I wish you could type in $1.50. In 1904, with just $1.50 and a strong desire, Mary Bethune started a school in Daytona Beach, Florida. Her school began in an old house near a city dump. A packing crate was used for her desk. 5 little girls were enrolled along with her 4-year-old son. She charged each student 50 cents per week. Later, the school grew to become a college, y'all. Y'all know about this college. In 1923, it joined with Cookman Institute to become the Bethune-Cookman College. There were 600 students, 32 teachers, and a large campus with no debt. Come on, talk to me in here. Bethune's College was the center of the black community. Classes were held day and night. Some of the classes were in religion. Was the center of the black community. Classes were held day and night. Some of the classes were in religion, in manual training, in carpentry, in cooking, in sewing. She wanted to develop the students in carpentry, in cooking, in sewing. She wanted to develop the students' minds and their spirits. Come on, lady. Although she was an educator, Bethune would serve in the government. In 1930, President Hoover gave her an important job with the Conference on Child Health. Later, President Roosevelt appointed her the Director of Negro Affairs. In 1952, she was sent by President Truman to the African country of Liberia. There she represented the United States government. Bethune advised 5 United States presidents. She often gave them advice about the needs of black Americans. Bethune's speaking ability was one of her greatest gifts. She was very convincing. Her words were often carefully chosen. It is quoted that she spoke in tones of gold, in tones of gold, in tones of gold. Mary Bethune, as a daughter of a former slave, knew at an early age that education was very important. She knew that her people needed to know how to read, how to write, if they were ever to succeed in life. Does it matter that one is born poor? To read, how to write, if they were ever to succeed in life. Does it matter that one is born poor, a member of a large family, or raised with injustice and unequal schools? Mary McLeod Bethune proved that roadblocks can be overcome if one set goals. Hard work does bring its own reward. Okay, guys, something is my internet service is being funny today, so if I blink in and out, just stick with me. Let's give Mary McLeod Bethune something. Yay! We gotta do it! Yay! Oh! Clap, 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 clap. Thank you, Mary McLeod Bethune. Thank you, thank you, thank you, and thank you for your service. Thank you very much. Appreciate you. Oh my. Let's move on. Let's move on. I'm just impressed by her though. I'm impressed by both of them. I'm impressed by Ida B. Wells and how she fought that lynching thing, man. I tell you, we need somebody with that spirit today. God, we need somebody with that spirit today. All of the injustices. And then for Mary McLeod Bethune, just take $1.50, even in her time. Take a crate. Do you know when you make up your mind you can't be stopped? Let's go. Mary Ann Shadd Cary. Okay? Mary Cary. 1823 to 1893. Newspapers play a very important role in reporting events and shaping the opinions of people. In 1852, a black American woman came forward as an outstanding, outspoken writer. Mary Carey was the publisher of the Canada's first anti-slavery newspaper and the first black newspaper woman publisher of the Canada's first anti-slavery newspaper and the first black newspaper woman in North America. Okay? Mary Ann, excuse me, the oldest of 13 children. I had my water. Where's my water? Okay. The oldest of 13 children. Okay. Let me start this again. I lost my place. Lost my place here. Let's start back here. Got it. Mary Ann, the oldest of 13 children, was born on October the 9th, 1823 in Wilmington, Delaware. Abraham and Harriet Shadd were her parents. They took many runaway slaves into their home. So Mary, at the early age, knew she was the evils of slavery. It was against the law to educate blacks in Delaware. So when she was 10 years old, her parents took her to Pennsylvania to attend school. Later at the age of 16, Mary returned to Wilmington and opened a private school for blacks. Welcome everyone. If I missed anyone, Stevie, okay, I already said hello to Soulfully Encouraged. Okay, most of you guys. Okay, everybody else is coming in. Welcome. Hi, Samuel. Welcome. Glad to have you. Okay, so we're going to move on. Put this thing here so I can see some names. Thank you for the likes. Thank you. Okay, we're doing Mary Carey. Okay, let me finish. After the fugitive slave law was passed, Mary and her brother Isaac went to Canada. She began teaching again. Soon her father moved the whole family to Windsor, Canada. When people in Canada did not welcome runaway slaves, her father moved the whole family to Windsor, Canada. When people in Canada did not welcome runaway slaves, but Mary knew that life was better for blacks in Canada than in America, she wrote a 44-page booklet called Notes on Canada. In her booklet, she listed opportunities in Canada for blacks. Many people in the United States read her booklet. Mary, felt that a newspaper for black Americans should be printed. She wanted her newspaper to give information to fugitive slaves. She began her newspaper and called it the Provincial Freeman. You might know that if you're from Canada. The Provincial Freeman. The newspaper became very popular. Mary often returned to the United States to obtain first-hand information for her newspaper. She became a public speaker against slavery. Slavery to her was the greatest evil of the times. The greatest evil of the times. In 1856, Mary married Thomas Carey of Toronto, Canada. They had a daughter named Sally. Later, Mary opened a school which admitted all races. Look at her. Oh my gosh. We have a way of doing that. Hi, King. Welcome. We have a way of doing that. Okay. In 1863, President Lincoln called for men to fight in the Union Army. Once again, Mary returned to the United States. She became an Army recruiting officer fight in the Union Army. Once again, Mary returned to the United States. She became an Army recruiting officer. Her job was to recruit black Americans in the state of Indiana to fight against slavery. After the Civil War, Shadd moved to Washington, D.C. Mary moved to Washington, D.C. There she enrolled in the Howard University Law School. By studying law, she believed that she could better understand the rights of black Americans. In 1883, she became the second black American woman in the United States to earn a law degree. Because of her law degree, she became active in the fight for women and civil rights. Mary knew that laws make it possible for people to live together peacefully. She also knew that people have the power and the right to change laws that are unjust. Such was the case with the laws pertaining to slavery. Mary did two important things to help Black Americans. She recognized early in life that a Black newspaper was needed as a voice against slavery. She also realized that learning the law was the key to obtaining civil rights of her people. Mary was quick-witted and often called the rebel. She died June 5th of 1893 in Washington, D.C. Come on, let's do it. Yay, Mary, yeah, Mary, yeah, Mary. Thank you, Mary, thank you, Mary, thank you, Mary. Thank you, Mary Carey. Thank you very much. We applaud you for your work. Thank you for your fight. Thank you. Guys, Black women flying airplanes, we get more and more of them today. We get more and more today, aren't we? Well, guess who we're talking about? Black women flying airplanes, we get more and more of them today. We get more and more today, aren't we? Well, guess who we're talking about now? Betsy Coleman. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Hello down there. Hello, Osborne. Hello, some names I get. Yes, got it right. Okay, hello. Okay, Betsy Coleman. 1893 to 1926. People first began to travel by air in the early 1900s. During this time, most pilots were white. Most people did not believe that a Black person or a woman had the intelligence to fly an airplane. Betsy Coleman, not only a woman, but black as well, proved them wrong on both counts. She became the first Black woman pilot. Brave Betsy, as she came to be called, was born in Atlanta, Texas, on January the 26th, 1893, the 12th of 13 children. Her father, who was part Indian, decided to return to Oklahoma. Her mother did not follow and was left to raise 4 daughters. Betsy and her family were very poor. Her mother took in washing while Betsy and her sisters picked cotton. Although Betsy's mother could not read or write, she obtained books from a traveling library wagon. She had high hopes that her children would go to college. Each night, Betsy read the Bible and stories about famous Black Americans to her family. Betsy finished high school, but was able to attend only 1 semester of college. She then went to Chicago to live with an older brother. In Chicago, Betsy took a manicuring course at a beauty school. She soon found a job in a barber shop. She even opened a chili parlor. Yet, she was still restless and undecided about her future. Betsy then discovered aviation. Few women at that time thought of flying. But Betsy heard about the daredevils who did all sorts of tricks in their planes. Sometimes they walked on the wings of the airplane. They would even change planes in midair. Betsy was fascinated. She prepared herself by reading everything she could about flying. She looked for an aviation school to attend, but no school would accept her. Betsy knew that she was denied admission because of her race and sex, but she continued to search. One day, Betsy met Robert Abbott, publisher of the Chicago Defender newspaper. He suggested that she learn French and go to Europe. Isn't it amazing how mostly all of our people, when they want to do something, they got to leave the United States and go to Europe? So, what's up with that? Okay, after learning French, she felt that she was ready for her next big step, withdrawing all of her savings from the bank. Betsy sailed for Paris in 1920. She was 27 years old. In Paris, Betsy walked 9 miles to school each day. She was determined to become a pilot. Betsy passed her final exam and stayed in Paris to improve her flying skills. Okay, guys, if the connection blinks, I don't know what's going on with the local channel here, but I'm still here. It's been blinking in and out. Okay. Betsy passed her final exam and stayed in Paris to improve her flying skills. In 1921, Betsy passed her final exam and stayed in Paris to improve her flying skills. In 1921, Betsy returned to the United States as the world's first black female pilot. She really looked forward to her first flight as a professional flyer. On Labor Day in 1922, the Chicago Defender sponsored her flying show in New York. Betsy did not disappoint her fans. She was daring. 6 weeks later, Betsy performed in Chicago. The airport was packed with cheering crowds. Betsy began her performance, loop the loop, glides, figure eights. Her audience saw her do them all. Betsy began to give flying lessons, lectures, and shows throughout the country. Though few black Americans were interested in flying at the time, Betsy still lectured and urged them to learn to fly. Once while flying in California, her plane crashed. Broken ribs, broken leg, and cuts did not matter to her. She still loved flying. In 1926, Betsy was in Jacksonville, Florida for a lecture and a show. Betsy was the plane she was to fly had engine trouble the week before. Betsy was sure all would be well. However, she was flying without a parachute or a seat strap when the engine failed. The plane nosedived and Betsy fell to her death. Betsy Coleman, a true pioneer, inspired her race with her courage. She paved the way for other blacks in aviation. On every Memorial Day, Black American pilots remember brave. She paved the way for other blacks in aviation. On every Memorial Day, Black American pilots remember brave Betsy Coleman. Yay, Betsy, yay, Betsy, yay, Betsy, yay, Betsy. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your bravery. Thank you for all that you've done. We applaud you. All right, guys. Somebody ought to give her something. Say, yes, Betsy, good job. We appreciate your service. Rest in peace. Thank you for what you've done. You know something? I thank you guys already for the likes that you've given. Appreciate it. God bless you and thank you for coming in. But not so much for me. But let's become encouragers of each other. And let's appreciate our history this month. We can't put all Black history in 28 days. We're not even trying to do that. But I'm just making it a point to try to honor them. So today is a day off, and I get a couple of minutes, low time, and I want to dedicate it to focus in on some of these people that did some great things for us. Hopefully you'll get something and you can share it with your family or your youth, or maybe it will inspire you to go Google it, look it up, something. We need to know who we are, and we need to know that our ancestors, people that came before us, they were busy. They were doing things. We come from a powerful generation. We are powerful people. We are so powerful. We just don't know how powerful we are. Let me share this with you. In another lesson, I was doing research, and the author stated this. The commentator stated this. Our genes, our DNA is so powerful. Have you ever heard of the one-drop rule? If you haven't, look it up. Just Google it. It's called the one-drop rule. What that is, the law was made that if one drop of African American black blood is intermingled with another race, they are called black. They are called African American. All it is called a one-drop rule. They don't have to look like it. I know many people don't look like it. But if they say it's the one-drop rule, they realize how dominant melanin is when it mixes with another race. It's just that powerful. Just thought I'd throw that in. We are a powerful people. Don't ever forget it. Be proud of who you are. The next name is Ellen Craft. Ellen Craft. Oceana 2, welcome. Ellen Craft. During the days of slavery, 1826 to 1897, during the days of slavery, slaves would plot many ways in which to escape. Perhaps one of the most clever and daring plans was that of Ellen and William Craft. I love this. Just talked about the one-drop rule, remember? Ellen Craft was a slave, but was very light-skinned. I am praying against this connection today. It has really been acting up. We normally don't have this. I don't know if we don't have bad weather, we got good weather. I don't know what's happening. Ellen was very light-skinned. The daughter of a white slave master, she was born around 1826 in Clinton, Georgia. She was often thought to be a member of the family. She looked so white. When she was 11 years old, Ellen was taken from her mother. The slave master's wife did not like Ellen. I guess not. So she gave Ellen to her daughter as a wedding gift. Can you believe that? Ellen grew up seeing the misery of slavery all around her. The experience of being taken from her mother was painful. This pain was still with her when she married a slave named William Craft. It was in December of 1848 when William told Ellen of his plans to free them from slavery. The plan involved Ellen dressing as a white male slave owner, with William, her husband, the slave. You get it? The slave master would pretend to be sick. William would travel with the slave master to care for him. Actually, Ellen would. Excuse me. Slaves often travel with their slave masters. At first, Ellen was afraid. She wondered if William's plans would work. What if they were caught? They would be whipped and punished. But Ellen decided that anything was better than slavery. William took care of everything. He cut Ellen's hair very short. He had a pair of pants for her and a long coat. She was to wear a top hat. See the top hat? Her arm would be in a sling, as if her arm had been hurt. This would make it impossible for her to sign her name. Ellen could not read or write. He would put a scarf with medicine on it around her neck. This would make her appear sick. To hide her eyes, she would wear green eyeglasses. Also, she would walk slowly, hobble a bit, and carry a cane. Because it was Christmas, William was able to get 2 holiday passes to travel. The night before they were to catch the train, they prayed. The next morning at the train station, Ellen, quote, slave master, took 2 tickets for Savannah, Georgia. Hello, Dorothy. Dorothy Wilson, I guess. Hey, so good to see you. Okay. Her husband had managed to save enough money from his work as a carpenter. She gave her name as William Johnson, slave owner. They were headed north. Finally, they arrived in Baltimore, the last slave city on their journey. The conductor asked for proof that Mr. Johnson owned William the slave. Ellen and William were afraid, but passengers on the train spoke up for them. The conductor let them go and asked them no more questions. They got on the train bound for Philadelphia. After arriving safely, it was not long before everyone knew about their daring escape. The Crafts lived in Boston for 2 years. In 1850, slave hunters sought to capture them and return them to slavery. Ellen and William heard that the slave hunters were looking for them. They packed their few belongings and escaped to Canada. From there, they went to England. In England, the Crafts met new friends. They learned to read and write. 5 children were born to them. A book telling of their escape was published in England. The Crafts became well known. In 1868, the Crafts sailed back to America. They bought a plantation in their old homeland and settled there. They began a school for blacks. Those who went to their school learned the trade. Ellen Craft and her husband William were bold and fearless. Ellen died in 1897 and William in 1900. They proved that they could use their imagination to free themselves. Slavery was so unbearable that they had to plan a bold escape, and they were successful. Let's honor them. Let's honor them. Yay! 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 God bless you. God bless you. God bless you. Hand clap. Thank you, Ellen Craft. Thank you, Ellen Craft and William, for what you've done. Thank you. We honor you. Rest in peace, my friend. Let's now look at Mary Mahoney. Hello, that look like Martin. I'm not sure. I can hardly see it. But anyway, welcome everybody. Okay, Mary Mahoney. Here we go. All right. She was born in 1845, died in 1926. At one time, there were no black nurses in America. However, in 1879, Mary Eliza Mahoney became the very first. She began nursing training when she was 33 years old, and she continued her work as a nurse for more than 40 years. Mary Eliza was born in 1845 in Roxbury, Massachusetts, now part of Boston. She was the eldest of 3 children, born to Charles and Mary Jane Stewart Mahoney. As a young woman, Mary worked at the New England Hospital for Women and Children as a maid. In 1873, Linda Richards graduated from the hospital as the first trained nurse in the United States. It was then that Mary Mahoney decided she wanted to become a nurse. In 1878, out of the 40 women who applied for enrollment at the New England Hospital, only 18 were accepted for training. Of the 18 accepted, 9 continued their studies, and 4 actually graduated. Mary was one of them. She had spent 12 months in the hospital wards learning. All were actually graduated. Mary was one of them. She had spent 12 months in the hospital wards learning all the details of nursing care. Mary's studies included attending classes in surgery, medicine, and patient and child care. She spent the last 4 months of her nursing training in private homes. For this, she was paid $3 per week. Come on, connection. $3 per week. Wow. $3 per week. Mary was an excellent student and graduated in 1879. Her record later encouraged other blacks to enroll at the hospital. By 1899, the New England Hospital had graduated 5 other black nurses. Although small in size, weighing less than 100 pounds, Mary Mahoney was a very skillful and able worker. Even though she was an excellent nurse, she still had a very hard time being hired by a hospital. At the time, hospitals would not hire black nurses. So she often had to work as a private duty nurse for the richest families in Boston. Though active in several organizations, in 1908, Mary Mahoney was directly involved in the forming of the All-Black Nursing Association. Now, I didn't know that, and I'm in medicine. This group was called the National Association of Colored Graduate Nurses. Mary also supported women's rights. After women received the right to vote, she was one of the first women to register. Mary Eliza Mahoney died in New England Hospital for Women and Children on January the 4th, 1926. She was 81 years old. In 1936, the National Association of Colored Graduate Nurses established the Mary Mahoney Award. This medal is now given in her honor by the American Nurses Association for Outstanding Service. American Nurses Association for Outstanding Service. Black nurses were allowed to join this national organization in 1951. I personally will look that up once I'm off the channel. Mary Eliza Mahoney was a black American nursing pioneer. Because of her, there are thousands of black Americans in the nursing profession. Oh my goodness. Give her a hand clap, please, somebody. Thank you for your service. Give me a little yes. Yes, 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 yes. We honor you. Thank you for your service. Rest in peace. Yes, 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 yes. All right, all right, all right. Oh my goodness. Mary Church Terrell. We're getting there. We're getting there, guys. We're getting to the end. We're getting there. Mary Church Terrell. Mary Church Terrell. 1863 to 1954. She was able to speak 3 languages. She was an outstanding writer, speaker, organizer, civil rights leader. She also supported women's rights long before it was popular to do so. Her name was Mary Church Terrell. Mary Church was born in 1863 in Memphis, Tennessee, the daughter of a former slave. Let me just see, can I try something here? Hold on, no. Okay, that's not it. I don't know, it's telling me to do something with the Wi-Fi service. All right, let's move on. Hopefully we can finish. Mary Church was born in 1863 in Memphis, Tennessee, the daughter of a former slave. Her father was self-educated. His smart business sense made it possible for him to buy houses and land. He became quite rich and successful. Mary's parents did not want her to attend the segregated schools in Memphis. So Mary was sent to a school in Ohio upon completing her elementary and high school education. She entered Oberlin College in Ohio. Mary studied languages and became an outstanding student. She was the class poet and editor of the school newspaper. Mary was the only woman in a class of 40. In 1884, she graduated from Oberlin, and then from 1885 to 1887, Mary taught at Wilberforce University, a black college in Ohio. She then moved to Washington, D.C., where she continued to teach. Returning to Ohio, she received her master's degree in 1888. She spent the next 2 years in Europe studying languages and traveling. In 1891, Terrell was always very busy. She gave her time and energy to help her people. She spoke out against discrimination and segregation, not only at home, but in other countries too. In 1892, she helped organize the Colored Women's League of Washington, D.C. With Mary's help, this group later became the National Association of Colored Women. 3 years later, she served on the Board of Education in Washington, D.C. She was the first Black American to hold this position, and she did so until 1911. But in 1904, Mary Terrell amazed the International Congress of Women in Berlin, Germany. She spoke to the group in England, German, and French. She could speak 3 languages, remember? Everyone remembered her message of equality for women and Black people. In 1909, Mary Terrell was one of the many Black and white leaders who helped to organize the NAACP. She served as vice president of the Washington NAACP branch for many years. She worked in the presidential elections and helped organize Black women's groups for the Republican Party. There's a Republican Party again. Because Mary Terrell had very light skin, she didn't know she was Black. Hey, she would often pass for white and eat in segregated restaurants. After eating, she would then demand to know why other Blacks could not eat there. An old law written after the Civil War, said restaurants must serve all people if they behave well. However, Washington, D.C. refused to honor this law. In 1949, the bold civil rights leader started a group to demand that restaurants follow the law. She and several others went to court. They also marched with signs against restaurants which did not serve Black people. At this time, Mary Terrell was nearly 90 years old. In 1953, the U.S. Supreme Court agreed with Mary Terrell that Blacks could eat. I got to say that again. In 1953, in 1953, in 1953, did y'all get it? Say it one more time. In 1953, the U.S. Supreme Court agreed that Blacks could eat at any restaurant in Washington, D.C. In 1954, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that segregation was illegal. A few months later, July 24, 1954, Mary Terrell died at the age of 91 in Annapolis, Maryland. This great Black American woman served her people for over 70 years. During her lifetime, Mary Terrell wrote many articles, and her life story, A Colored Woman in a White World. A Colored Woman in a White World. I have not read that. I probably need to get that article and read it. Let's give her applause. Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Mary. May you rest in peace. We thank you for your service. Yes, God bless you. Sojourner Truth. What a name, Sojourner Truth. Who has not heard of Sojourner Truth? Have you heard of Sojourner Truth? It is nice and warm here today in New York, guys, and I'm enjoying it. Don't get me wrong. 1797 to 1883. Sojourner Truth can be remembered in history as a very brave woman who fought for freedom. For 40 years, she traveled across the country speaking out for the end of slavery. She also spoke out for the rights of women. Sojourner was the first Black woman to publicly speak her mind on these issues. Sojourner's real name was Isabella Baumfree. When questioned, she would answer that the Lord gave her the new name Sojourner Truth. Sojourner stood for the endless travels that she would have to make, wanting two names. She said that the Lord gave her truth because she was to spread the truth to the people. In 1797, Sojourner was born a slave near Kingston, New York. She was often sold from master to master. She was once sold to a Master John J. Dumont, who made her marry an older slave named Thomas. From this marriage, she gave birth to 5 children. Dumont was such a mean man that he even sold several of Sojourner's children. In 1827, Sojourner escaped Dumont. She was taken in by a Quaker family named Van Wagoner. Quaker Oats, Quaker family, Quaker. With the Van Wagoner's help, she won a lawsuit to have her son Peter returned to her. She was freed by the New York State Anti-Slavery Act in 1828. Sojourner was an excellent speaker, standing over 6 feet tall with a deep voice. She easily won attention and respect. With her quick wit, she could easily hush those in the audience who would cheer her. Wherever she spoke, crowds would gather to hear her. Whenever she spoke, although Sojourner could not read or write, she became a famous traveling preacher. She believed that women were not helpless. She also believed that men and women should have equal rights. Sojourner would often state that women work just as hard as men. Because of her height and deep voice, some people thought that Sojourner was a man dressed as a woman to defend herself and the rights of other women. Once at a meeting, she opened her blouse. Oh my God. Wow. You guys hear what she had to do? I had to pause. Did y'all hear what she had to do? She opened her blouse. She showed her breasts and her masculine arms. She showed her breasts and her masculine arms. She then asked, "Ain't I a woman?" Wow. 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 Sojourner Truth was a legend in her time. She was intelligent and sharp. Her concern was for all blacks who were being denied their human rights. It didn't matter if she was at a religious meeting or an anti-slavery rally. There was something magical about the way she spoke. Many people thought she was a prophet. Something magical about the way she spoke. Many people thought she was a prophet. Prophets tell about the future. During the Civil War, she spoke and sang songs to raise money. Many of the songs she sang, she wrote herself. With the money she raised, she bought gifts for the soldiers. She served as a nurse, and she also helped many slaves who had escaped from the South. After the war, Sojourner Truth stayed in Washington, D.C. She discovered that there were too many former slaves and not enough jobs or housing for them. So she tried to get Congress to give former slaves free land in the West. Congress refused, and many blacks settled there anyway, thanks to the efforts of Sojourner Truth. Sojourner Truth lived to be 86 years old. Years before she died of poor health on November 26, 1883, she had met with President Lincoln at the White House. She felt that this meeting was one of the highlights of her life. Sojourner Truth had risen from the depths of slavery to the heights of recognition. What a woman, what a woman, what a woman, what a woman, what a woman. We honor her. Thank you so much. Thank you, Sojourner Truth. Thank you. May you rest in peace. Thank you so much. Welcome, Kimberly. Welcome, 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 everyone. We're almost there. Our internet service stick with us. Everybody know where we are now? Yep, we only have a couple more to go. Harriet Ross Tubman. Who has not heard of Harriet Ross Tubman? Do I really need to even say anything? Do I really need to read her story? But I'm going to do it anyway, because there could be somebody that just don't know the fullness of some of the things she went through. So let's do it. She was born in 1820, died in 1913. She was the conductor of a very special train. She aided over 1,000 slaves seeking freedom. She never ran her train off the track, nor lost a single passenger. Many called her the Moses of her people. Her name was Harriet Ross Tubman. Harriet Ross was born again in 1820 in the state of Maryland. Her parents had 11 children. Little Harriet's slave master was cruel to her. She was often beaten, mistreated, and forced to do hard work. But this only strengthened Harriet's body and her desire to be free. When she was 13 years old, her master struck her head. If you see the movie, you'll see that mark. Read her book. He struck her head. When she was 13 years old, her master struck her head. If you see the movie, you'll see that mark. Read her book. He struck her head with an iron weight. Harriet was badly hurt. This caused her to have dizziness and sleeping spells for the rest of her life. In 1844, Harriet married John Tubman, a free man. Several years later, a slave master died, fearing that she would be sold out of state by her new master. She would escape. Her husband laughed at her plan and refused to go with her. However, two of her brothers liked the plan and decided to run away with her. So armed with a rifle, they set out. Midway through the journey, her frightened brothers turned back. But Harriet Tubman wanted freedom badly. Alone, she made her way to safety in Pennsylvania. Harriet was not satisfied that she was free. She longed to help her people gain freedom. She made 19 trips back to the South and rescued over 300 slaves again. Harriet followed the North Star in her journeys. Often the group waded through icy streams, icy cold streams. They had little to eat and lived in constant fear of being caught. If caught, they would be punished and returned to slavery. But Harriet knew the Underground Railroad. The Underground Railroad was just a name given to homes along the escape route. Friendly families lived in those homes. Many were Quakers. Remember I said that? They hid the slaves until it was safe for them to travel again. Pointing her rifle, the fearless conductor would often tell those who were afraid to continue, "You'll be free or you will die. You'll be free or you will die." Harriet often said, "I never ran my train off the track, and I never lost a passenger," which meant that her journeys were always a success. It was dangerous for anyone to help a slave escape, especially another slave. Harriet Tubman was soon called the Moses of her people. At one time, there was a $40,000 reward for Harriet's capture. Using many disguises, she rescued most of her family. However, her greatest for Harriet's capture. Using many disguises, she rescued most of her family. However, her greatest triumph came when she helped her aging parents escape. During the Civil War, the skillful Harriet was a Union Army scout, a spy, and a nurse. In 1863, she led the Union Army on a raid that freed 750 slaves. After the war, Harriet Tubman lived in Auburn, New York, where she tried to get a military pension. Denied a pension, she lived in poverty for 30 years. In 1897, Congress passed a special bill for Harriet Tubman's pension. She used the money to establish the Harriet Tubman Home for the aged and homeless blacks. In her 90s, when she died in 1913, Harriet Tubman was mourned by blacks and whites alike. Her deeds of bravery have not been forgotten over the years. Tubman was mourned by blacks and whites alike. Her deeds of bravery have not been forgotten over the years. Schools are named in her honor, and her life story has been told in many books and TV programs. Harriet Tubman was given a full military funeral. Many officials spoke of her strong qualities. They told of her contributions to her fellow man. Harriet Tubman postage stamp was issued in 1978, the first in a Black Heritage USA series. Harriet, 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 I'm giving you your hand clap. Harriet, 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 I'm giving you your hand clap. I'm giving you your accolades. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. May you rest in peace and may we continue to honor you. Oh my goodness, what a woman, what a woman, what a woman. Somebody ought to say, what a woman. What a woman. Guys, this is what we're doing. Yes. I see Arzel, welcome. Okay. Madam C.J. Walker. Madam C.J. Walker. This is what she looked like. Okay. Madam C.J. Walker, 1867 to 1919. Madam C.J. Walker was America's first black millionaire. She achieved great fame and fortune by discovering a special way for black women to care for their hair. During her lifetime, she built a business empire unlike any other black person in the country. Sarah Breedlove, later known as Madam C.J. Walker, was born on December 23rd, 1867, in Delta, Louisiana. Born of ex-slave parents, she was an orphan at the age of 6 and then raised by her married sister. At age 14, Sarah married into the McWilliams family and had a daughter, Leela. I think that's what you said. 6 years later, she became a widow. After her husband's death in 1887, Sarah moved to St. Louis, Missouri for the next 18 years to support herself and her daughter. She washed clothes, earning $1.50 per day. Desiring an education, she attended night school. She was soon Desiring an education, she attended night school. She was soon to start a business that would make history. She took a day's wage and invested it in creating a product which would beautify the hair of black women. She mixed oils and other ingredients in a wash tub. After many trials and errors, she discovered the special hairdressing she was searching for. So in 1905, she invented and received a government patent for the straightening comb. Her special hairdressing and straightening comb made the hair smooth and shiny. The next step she took was to move to Denver, Colorado. There, she met and married Charles Walker, a newspaper man. She became known as Madam C.J. Walker. Madam C.J. Walker. She established her Denver office and then began to sell products door to door. She trained salespeople and gave lectures on black health and beauty. She stressed cleanliness and loveliness as aids to black self-respect and racial progress. At first, blacks and whites laughed at Walker's method. However, Madam Walker continued to move forward. Soon the Walker method became very popular, and in 1908, she opened another office in Philadelphia. The new office was managed by her daughter. Later, both offices were moved to Indianapolis, Indiana. By 1918, her headquarters and plant would occupy a full city block. Madam C.J. Walker Manufacturing Company grew to employ over 3,000. Madam C.J. Walker Manufacturing Company grew to employ over 3,000 workers. People throughout the United States and the Caribbean knew about her company and her products. She encouraged her employees to work hard and take pride in the product that they produce. She also required her employees to be neat and clean. Her strict rules later became state laws in the beauty industry. In the 1920s, Josephine Baker, a great black entertainer living in Paris, used the Walker method. The French people liked it so much that they tried to make and sell a similar product. We know about this, don't we? But theirs was nothing like the Walker method. The Madam C.J. Walker Manufacturing Company made her very rich, and she shared her wealth with others. She gave generously to the needy of Indianapolis, the NAACP, the YWCA, and the YMCA, and to homes for the aged. She awarded scholarships to young women at several black high schools and colleges. She also supported the work of Mary McLeod Bethune and Ida B. Wells. She gave $100,000 to build a girls' school in West Africa. Building a giant empire worth over $1 million, Madam C.J. Walker also enjoyed a rich lifestyle. She invested wisely in real estate. In 1917, she built a 30-room mansion in New York worth $250,000. A 30-room mansion in New York worth $250,000. She would often give big, expensive parties. Madam C.J. Walker died on May 25th, 1919. However, her place in history will always remain. Yes. Thank you, Madam C.J. Walker, for your work. May you rest in peace. We honor you. All right. Maggie Lena Walker. Maggie Lena Walker. Maggie Lena Walker. All right. I want to change my beat. Maggie Lena Walker. Here we go. We'll keep it. Maggie Lena Walker. That's her. Hi, Donald. Welcome. 1867 to 1934. During the time when many women were locked out of the business world, Magdalena Walker proved herself to be a business giant. She became the first female, black or white, to become a bank president. Magdalena Walker was born in Richmond, Virginia in 1867. Her mother, a former slave, worked as a cook's helper in the home of a rich white family, the Van Loos. The Van Loos had fought against slavery, and their home had once served as an underground railroad station. When Maggie's stepfather died, her mother was forced to take in washing. Maggie would help by delivering the clothes. finding new customers, and looking after her brother. Maggie was a bright student, finding new customers, and looking after her brother. Maggie was a bright student. She completed high school when she was 16 years old and then began teaching. She taught in the public schools in Richmond for 3 years. Because she was interested in business, Maggie took several courses in accounting and sales. She also became an insurance agent. In 1886, Maggie married Armistead Walker Jr., a respected businessman. They had 3 children. During this time, most women were homemakers, but Magdalena Walker loved the business world. In 1899, she became Executive Secretary Treasurer of the Independent Order of St. Luke. This was a type of insurance company for blacks, the Independent Insurance Company. Some of you probably know about that. I think my mom had that service in South Georgia. I think they're still there, the Independent Insurance Company. The order provided money to members in case of sickness or death. Blacks supported the order because many white insurance companies would not sell policies to black people. I'm sure that's the same company. Magdalena Walker ran the company in an excellent way. It soon had over 3,000 members. She collected dues, paid claims, and kept the books. In 1902, the smart businesswoman also started a newspaper called the St. Luke Herald. A year later, Magdalena Walker started the St. Luke Penny Savings Bank and served. A year later, Magdalena Walker started the St. Luke Penny Savings Bank and served as its president. Soon all black banks in Richmond, Virginia joined with Magdalena Walker's bank. They were named the Consolidated Bank and Trust Company. By 1924, the Independent Order of St. Luke had a membership of 100,000 and a $100,000 office building. This was quite an achievement for black people, and it was all because of business skills of Magdalena Walker. Magdalena Walker activities went beyond her bank. She organized the Richmond Council for Negro Women, which grew to 1,400 members. She raised $5,000 to purchase a farm for black girls. She collected money for a nursing home and a community center, and she was very active in the NAACP and the National Urban League. This important woman received many honors and awards. Virginia Union University gave her an honorary degree. In Richmond, Virginia, a street, a theater, and a school all bear her name. However, in 1934, Magdalena Walker received one of the greatest honors in her life. Blacks in Richmond, Virginia asked all black organizations throughout the country to make the month of October Magdalena Walker Month. I did not know that. I did not know Magdalena Walker had a month. I did not know that. Magdalena Walker died later that same year. Magdalena Walker is one of the greatest names in the world of business. Not only did she help black businesses to grow, but she proved that women could be successful in a man's world. She proved that women, not only did she help black businesses to grow, but she proved that women could be successful in a man's world. She proved that women could be successful in a man's world. Wow. Let's give her some accolades. Hey. Yes. Thank you. May you rest in peace. We honor you. Thank you for your service. Guys, this is our last lady. Have you heard of Phyllis Wheatley. Phyllis Wheatley, 1753 to 1784 is what they have for her, and I'm sure. The gift of poetry is given to very few. A little slave girl had this gift and proved to the world that to very few. A little slave girl had this gift and proved to the world that blacks had talent and ability. She would grow up to become the first noted black poet in North America. Her name, again, Phyllis Wheatley. At the age of 7, Phyllis Wheatley was brought to this country on a slave ship. Afraid, frail, half naked, she was forced to stand on an auction block in Boston Harbor and be sold. She could only speak her native African language. John Wheatley, a wealthy Boston tailor, took pity on this little girl and bought Phyllis for his wife. The Wheatleys loved and cared for little Phyllis and treated her like a member of the family. She did not have to live in the slave quarters, but had her own room in their household. Look at God. She ate her meals with them, except when guests came. The two Wheatley children who were in, look at God. She ate her meals with them, except when guests came. The two Wheatley children who were in their teens taught Phyllis to read and write. Within 16 months, she was speaking and writing English very well. Phyllis' high intelligence was quite noticeable, for she began to study and read Latin. She loved to read the works of the great poets. By the age of 14, she had written her first published poem. Many felt it was as good as the finest poems ever written. The poem was written in memory of George Whitefield, an evangelist who came to America to preach. He had spoken to thousands, so Phyllis' poem touched the hearts of many. There were those who felt that blacks were unable to think and write with feeling, but Phyllis proved them wrong. The poem about Reverend Whitefield was also sent to England and was received by the Countess of Huntingdon. When Phyllis' health began to fail, the Wheatleys sent her to the country. However, she did not improve. A doctor then suggested that sea air would be helpful, so Phyllis went to England with the young Wheatley son and daughter. Although Phyllis' health did not improve greatly in England, she was entertained and presented as the gifted young black American writer. Her happiness quickly ended when she received word that Mrs. Wheatley was seriously ill. Phyllis returned. Her happiness quickly ended when she received word that Mrs. Wheatley was seriously ill. Phyllis returned to America after a few successful months in England. While in England, arrangements were made to publish a book of her poems called Poems on Various Subjects, Religious and Moral. This book, published in 1773, was dedicated to the Countess. 18 prominent Massachusetts men, including John Hancock and the governor, signed a statement in the front of the book. This was done to prove that Phyllis Wheatley had, in fact, written it. After Phyllis' return, Mrs. Wheatley's condition grew worse and she died in March 1774. Both Mr. Wheatley and his daughter, Mary, died in 1778. John Wheatley, the son, remained in England. Phyllis was then left on her own, but she soon met and married John Peters. Phyllis was then left on her own, but she soon met and married John Peters. Life for Phyllis became very difficult. Her husband did not care for his family, which now included 3 children. Two of their children died early, and by 1784, Phyllis was ill once again. Within hours of each other, Phyllis and her infant child was dead. John Peters, her husband, was not to be found. In the short span of 31 years, Phyllis Wheatley became a published poet in America, as well as in England. She wrote a poem for General George Washington, who responded by inviting her to visit him. General George Washington, who responded by inviting her to visit him. All of this happened during slavery, when blacks were believed to be greatly inferior. Phyllis Wheatley used her poetic talents well. Phyllis Wheatley used her poetic talents well. Many writers today still marvel at this great African-American female poet who brought America and England to attention. She was able to join the small world of classic poets. Come on, let's give her our accolades. Thank you, Phyllis. Thank you, Phyllis. Thank you, Phyllis Wheatley. Thank you, Phyllis Wheatley. Thank you very much. We honor you. May you rest in peace. Thank you for all that you've done. Guys, thank you for joining me for Volume 1 of Historic Black Women. May you find something that was said from some of these women to encourage you to follow your dream, to encourage you to go forth, to know that there is nothing that we can't do, to know that melanin is not a hindrance, but melanin is a blessing. Melanin is a blessing, and a blessing